How many times have you tried to explain your diet? I've tried to explain my diet far too many times to far too many people who honestly, I don't think they were really interested, but they did ask the question. So it turns out I've learned a few things about communicating about the carnivore diet with people who have other ideas. I have to remember that most people ideologically align themselves with what I like to call the taste bud satisfaction diet. So you may very well call yourself a pescatarian. Sometimes I eat a little meat, or a vegetarian. Sometimes I eat a little fish, or a vegan. Sometimes I just break the whole thing and I eat a chicken burger. But essentially, the people who like to have those labels that are now socially acceptable, because over time we've all been indoctrinated to socially accept them and we've been told that they're healthier for us, and that's dubious. People like to be liked. They like to be agreed with, have their choices validated. So society is saying that vegetarian and vegan diets are good. People are doing them. Now, there's something else about vegan and vegetarian diets that is quite satisfactory for people. Two things, I think. One is the sugar. The sugar is in everything. And if you are first and foremost saying that you are a vegetarian or you are a vegan, then when you feel like it, you can just have sugar. You can decide to have sugar in some form or another for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and have a snack after each one of those. And then you've got 6 meals a day of constant inundating your system with sugar, which your taste buds love. If you walk into a vegan or vegetarian restaurant, the display is the most colourful thing you will ever see in your life. The colourful foods are very attractive for your eyes. They seem to be very attractive for your mouth. I think that's where the attraction actually stops. But because we are storied beings, and the story has become that vegan and vegetarian diets are really actually good for you, and they're good for the planet, and they're good for everything, then you should do it. And there was a tipping point. It used to be really, really unusual to be vegan or vegetarian. And people only did it out of ideological saving the animals from harm. They made no connection to the environment. They made no connection truly to health. Unless you are so strict and so diligent in terms of combining all your foods, you're not going to get enough nutrition. And then you have to supplement, which doesn't make it a very natural diet. It makes it a very manufactured diet. And that's the other thing that, other than the sugar, is today's vegan or vegetarian has so many options for everything being done for them that they opt for foods that they don't know what is inside. Why would they read the back of the label if the front of the label says vegan or vegetarian? I don't know. It's only us carnivores who don't want to be tricked, because we know that if we eat the plant foods, we're going to feel the result of eating the plant foods. So we check the labels. Little rant over about plant-based diets. I really do see being on a plant-based diet is running with the pack now. It's going with the stream. It's very easy. The convenience food is on your side. And if you like to manufacture food, then you would love the current environment because you can take raw ingredients that cost you almost nothing, combine them, mix them, chop them, take them out of their original natural matrix, glue them together, put a bit of extra taste and sugar and salt and all things spice and nice, and you will have something that hits a bliss point in someone's mouth. It will send signals to the brain. This is delicious. It says it's healthy. I'm having more. That's what I see these days. So when I communicate about my carnivore diet, I'm up against all of that ideology. And I live in an urban part of Melbourne, which is the second largest city in Australia. And I live where everyone wants to go out and have coffee and have their smashed avo on toast and all that kind of food. Very tasty, hits all the spots, creamy, crunchy, salty, sweet, all that stuff. So when I have conversations about what I do, it's pretty interesting. I'm very aware of my audience.
Murray, this is the craziest thing. I go out with my friends on the weekend and they're always asking me the same question.
Yeah? Like what?
They always ask, why don't you just eat what we're having? They say it like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm hurting them or something.
So, what do you say back?
I say, well, I have to eat a special diet, but they always laugh at me. I don't know what to do or say after that.
Do they think you couldn't possibly need to eat differently because diets are for losing weight?
I think so. I say eat a diet, and they must hear on a diet.
That must be so frustrating. How about we find another word so they don't get confused?
That's a great idea. I think it would be great if they understood that it's a medical issue for me.
What about instead of saying special diet, which it is, but maybe use the word therapeutic diet instead?
I like that. It's a special diet, but that's still too general for other people. I have to eat a therapeutic diet. That feels much better.
I'm not surrounded by people who recognize any of their minor illnesses because they just go see a practitioner. You know why? Because they're everywhere. If I drive up a main road, I will see doctor's surgeries, dentist surgeries, chiropractors and osteopaths and naturopaths and massage and everything. You need it, you can get it, especially where I live. So maybe you don't have to do anything yourself because you can just go get fixed all the time. Except if you're watching this channel and you're part of the carnivore community, you have got to the point where you actually realize that all the quick fixes don't fix the real problems. The real problems get created by putting things in your body that toxify it. And the carnivore diet helps you stop doing that and helps your body clean out what has been put in there before. And it's getting more and more disappointing as I hear stories that food manufacturing is now adulterating what Americans call, we call it mince, because it's minced through a mincer. It's meat minced through a mincer, and ground beef is what it's called in a lot of the world. And I have heard people notice the back of packaging that they have actually put other things in there other than meat. So look at your packaging. If you're buying pre-done ground meat and you don't know where your meat has been, who's been touching your meat. So these are the things that I try to remember when I'm communicating with a mainstream person about diet. That people only know the information that they've already heard or they've experienced themselves. So I listen a lot to find out if someone has heard of the carnivore diet. I say, oh, I do the carnivore diet. Have you heard of it? and put the ball in their court and let them tell me what they know. Because I don't want to be repeating anything that they know. And if they tell me something that they know that I know is not correct, I would like the opportunity to correct them. Well, actually, that's not very correct. Let me tell you what I know. The next thing I try to remember is that people seem to not have time to do a lot of thinking about new things. So they like to be in the same pattern. So they come across a new thing, they make a decision, and then they create a pattern of behavior, and then they just want to follow that pattern. They don't really want to change it. It's a lot of effort. It's very economical. Habits are very economical. That's why the human mind is encouraged to find a pattern that works for them in the context that they're in, and they stick with that pattern. And there's an advantage to that when you're doing the carnivore diet, because you can create habits with the carnivore diet. And so we can use modern or human psychology. But I try to remember that people are not often doing the independent thinking, they're doing the patterned thinking. And so I'm looking to find out what their patterns are so that I don't push against their patterns too hard. People don't like being told that what they're doing is not good. The other thing I try to remember, it's got a bit connected to people's patterns. People react to your choices when you're explaining them as if they are their choices. So if I'm explaining that I do a carnivore diet and they say, oh, what's that? And then I tell them what I eat, they are imagining that they are having to do the same thing. Their reaction is not judging me. Their reaction is the interaction of those habits and patterns and beliefs of what's true and good in relationship to this new information that they're hearing. It doesn't actually have anything to do with me when I'm saying it. It's just a reaction. And I believe that it's because people are imagining if that were to be in their life, how would they handle it? Because people's reaction, oh, I couldn't do that. I could never give up bread. Well, I wasn't talking about them giving up bread. I was telling them what I do. I'm not a missionary. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I can just explain what I do. And I can explain pretty well if you want me to explain. But I'm never telling anyone what they have to do. But I do remember that people are going to react as if I am. So I try to reassure them, oh, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you just stick with your bread. Maybe you're not disciplined enough. Maybe you're not sick enough. You keep eating what you're eating, and if it works for you, well, great. But if it isn't, there are other options. You can make choices of what you put in. The last thing that I want to mention is about language. The words that we use are so important. And this is what I've learned about communicating and language use and the specificity or the generalized use of language. If you want to have a conversation full of misunderstandings and having to put in more energy than really what you should, and having confrontation and criticism and getting a little perhaps nasty sometimes and hot under the collar, keep everything general, because generalizations allow for misunderstandings. I try to start general and then use some very specific words. So I choose to say that I do a carnivore diet. They say, oh, why do you do that? And I say, it is to help my health situation. Oh. If they want to go any further, they have to ask me what's wrong with me. That's a very personal question. What's wrong with you? And depending on how they approach the next step in the conversation, I may not tell them everything that's wrong with me. I may say things like, I have a metabolic issue and I have autoimmune issues. The carnivore diet really, really helps keep me on an even keel in regard to those things. It's specific enough, it's using technical enough language that they can't really deny you the reason, because people will try, remembering that they're imagining them having to do it. If I just kept it general, oh, it's better for me, better for my health, then they can bring in their ideology about, oh no, eating meat's bad for you, it's going to cause you heart attacks and blah, 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 blah. Because that's what they've been told. They think that that's true and they're living by that. They're trusting that as a truth. And, well, haven't we all trusted many things as truth in our experience and then found out not so true? So this is my two bob about diet, being on a diet, doing a diet, eating a diet. I think language is really important. I think it's really important for those of us who understand a bit more about the truth to get our practicing on, practice the languaging. Maybe we could all share under the video what experiences we've had, what strategies we use, and then everyone read the comments and respond to the other people who are in the community. I'll do the same, and we'll see how much how much we can help each other learn. There's a whole world of ways to do this, and different ways will suit different people. I'm not the same as everybody else. I'm pretty solid in who I am, and I don't care so much about what people think about me. So I've got myself to a place of really knowing myself, and I'm not defensive really about anything. So yes, I hope this is an interesting video for you, thinking about how people react to talking about a very interesting diet, and their assumptions about you being on a diet and what's the purpose of your diet. Really, all those questions are them trying to figure out the answers for themselves. I think that's what it really is. This is One Curious Carnivore signing out. See you again soon.